So it turns out Gen Z hates MMORPGs, and I have the numbers to prove it. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit concerned, because there's a very popular quote that demographics is destiny, and doesn't look great for the MMORPG genre long term. This all started with a tweet by a World of Warcraft content creator by the name of Supatees, who was showing his YouTube analytics and how his videos skewed older, and that there were very few people under the age of 25 watching his videos, and he was asking for other people's input. So other people started posting their statistics, and they sort of lined up whether they were a raid content creator, a Mythic Plus, PvP, even other MMO creators were jumping in there. So I decided to look at my YouTube analytics. Now, I am not exclusively an MMORPG content creator right now, but I was looking at my specific videos, and they skewed very old. My most recent Ashes of Creation video had 0% of people under the age of 25 watching. That is staggering. Now, you may be saying, oh, that's just one video. That video doesn't have that many views, small sample size, whatever, right? Well, I decided to check my Dragonflight videos, some of my Dragonflight guide videos, Solo Shuffle, and they have pretty much the exact same demographics of 0% of people under 25 watching, which is wild. This had me questioning, am I crazy? Because I definitely played MMOs like World of Warcraft when I was 12 years old. I remember playing with other people that were my age. Sure, there were older players, and I was one of the younger people playing, but there were definitely other people my age playing. It didn't seem like a retirement home that it is now.
Teenager hooked on violent computer games. He's playing them an incredible 16 hours a day.
For 16-year-old Cameron Sandler, this is more than a game. It's an addiction and an illness.
I am addicted to the game, but I'm not fully addicted. Like, I can quit whenever I want. This really kicks ass, doesn't it?
Cameron reckons he can stand up and walk away whenever he wants. But try telling that to his mum. Up to 40% of users are hooked. And in China, a gifted 13-year-old student killed himself after playing Warcraft for 36 hours straight. The boy left a suicide note saying he wanted to join the heroes of the game he worshipped.
So I decided to look back at my older YouTube videos, because I've been doing YouTube for 13 years and YouTube keeps great analytics. So I decided to look at my very first video from 13 years ago, my beginner's guide to Feral PvP. This video, 86.1% of the audience was 24 or under. 86.1 under 24. Nowadays, 0%. My audience went from 86.1% of people being, youth, younger, 24 and under, to 0. That's insane. So this had me wondering, when did this trend start? When did MMORPGs become retirement homes? Well, luckily, I have the YouTube analytics over the last 13 years that we can take a blast through the past and go through it. So starting off with Rift, came out a really long time ago, and it had younger players. Next up, Star Wars The Old Republic had a sizable population of younger players. Guild Wars 2, also sizable amount of younger players. WildStar, this is where things started to skew a little bit older, which makes sense because that game sort of appealed to the, we're going back to when games were hard, like Classic WoW and 40-man raiding. That game definitely, at least initially, very much appealed to that Classic WoW audience. But even then, still a very sizable younger player base, especially compared to modern MMOs. Even games like Neverwinter, not filled with boomers, which is kind of surprising because that's like a Dungeons and Dragons game. You'd think that that would skew older, but still not skewing nearly as old as current MMOs. Even Crowfall, a game for boomers, still had a decently young population at launch early on. Now back to World of Warcraft. In World of Warcraft Legion, 31% of my audience was ages 18 through 24. Then, Battle for Azeroth, this is where things started to skew a bit older, but still, 26.1% of my audience was in that younger age group. And within 5 years of Battle for Azeroth, 5 years, they lost their entire 18 through 24 demographic. That's crazy. They lost it all. Now, I don't have any data for Shadowlands. I imagine this is where a lot of the damage was done. And then next game I played was New World, and New World was definitely a boomer fest. The youth don't give a damn about New World, and I don't blame them. So what does this all mean? Well, it's undeniable that Gen Z just doesn't give a damn about MMOs. But this doesn't necessarily doom the genre, because quite frankly, young people aren't worth much monetarily. They're not worth much to advertise to, and they're not worth much as consumers, particularly in today's monetization strategies. Games are free to play with cash shops, and for the most part, the kids are just not paying for things. This may be different in a sub-fee based game, but again, those are not super common. So for the most part, young players are just there to populate the worlds. That is important. We'll get to that in a second. But in terms of paying the bills, the youth don't really do it, and they never have. But the fact that we are seeing zero interest from people under 25 is baffling. While younger audiences aren't worth much monetarily, at least directly, they are very much valuable, because younger people in general, regardless of product, but especially in video games, younger people dictate the culture. They are the ones that make things cool. They are the ones that are making the memes on social media and on TikTok. They are the ones that are doing the things in game that are cool. They are the ones that are playing the game all day and making the worlds vibrant and making them interesting for when the 35-year-old guy comes home and plays 2 hours a day. Nobody wants to play a game where nothing interesting is happening. And the young people are the ones making the games interesting. And I don't care if you're 60 years old, you don't want to play a game where no one else is playing. So the younger audiences are the ones filling out these games. They are the ones that are making those Twitch, live numbers so high. They are the ones that are really engaging with the product, even if they are not necessarily funding it directly. So why is this happening? Well, there's definitely plenty of reasons, but here's a few things I don't think it is. I don't think that Gen Z is so brain fried from TikTok that they just can't engage with anything that requires a longer attention span. I think that's kind of a cop-out, and has always sort of been like a boomer take, because I've seen Gen Z grinding games that are incredibly difficult. Games like Valorant and Fortnite, where they're grinding like aim trainers. They're playing games that aren't even necessarily fun, and they're practicing intentionally. Like, these games are hard. Like, Valorant is a hard game to get good at. It'd be one thing if they were only playing Call of Duty, but a lot of these Gen Z kids are like very intentional with how they game. So I don't think it's that. And I don't think that they're Care Bears. I don't think that they are against risk. In fact, I think it's kind of the opposite. I think the millennials are the ones that are kind of Care Bears, whereas like hardcore Minecraft PvP is very popular. Rust is very popular with the youth. I just don't think that's the case. I also don't think that modern MMOs are nearly as boring as the MMOs of the past that were just pretty like EverQuest kind of stuff. Like, that was dull. I could get why nobody would want to play that nowadays. But MMOs nowadays, leveling is pretty quick. It's got a lot of story to it. So I don't think it's that either. So what is it? Well, the big elephant in the room is that all of the good MMORPGs are pretty old. Some of them over 20 years old. And do you really want to be the 14-year-old kid that is brand new in the game that is older than you are? No, because you know that it's going to be hard to get good at that game, and you have all of these things you cannot get anymore. There's 20 years of FOMO. You'll never get that mount because it doesn't exist anymore. It's just not as fun as being on the ground floor of the new game, and Western companies have just abandoned making MMORPGs, at least for the time being. Next big problem. All of the current MMORPGs on the market are fucking garbage. Hear me out. Because keep in mind, you right now watching are not young. You're just not. Statistically, you're not. Most of the people playing these games are not young. But every MMO right now is terrible. The only reason you're playing it is because you got bit by the MMORPG bug when the games were good. Everyone our age, around the age of 30, we were very privileged in that we got to play this genre when the games were good, when the worlds were cohesive and there were communities in the game. For 10 years, MMOs were great. From 2004 to about 2014, it was an amazing time to be an MMORPG player. There were tons of people interested in the genre. The genre was a bit of a cultural phenomenon with like World of Warcraft. And there were Western Western companies were making MMOs. US companies, not Eastern MMOs. And I hate to shit on Eastern MMOs, but they're all the same. It's just like, oh, it's an anime. It's an anime MMO. It's flashy. Oh my god, it was pay to win. Who could have seen it coming? It's the same song and dance. These games are all the same. But from 2004 to 2010, there was a lot of venture capital and a lot of people were interested in making MMOs. And it was a great time to be an MMO player. There were so many bangers from that period of time. And sure, some of them didn't last. You know, Star Wars The Old Republic, it didn't really last too long, but goddamn was it fun at launch. Same thing with WildStar. Same thing with Guild Wars 2. Like, yeah, sure, these games didn't exactly like kill it long term, but man, they came out and they were fun. So we don't even have that now. So why do the games suck? Well, in my opinion, it's because they've become incredibly systemized in a very obvious way. Perfect example is World of Warcraft, where you go to a vault and right-click it, and it's an RNG system where you get gear? Like, what the hell is that? That doesn't feel organic at all.
This game is so bad. I haven't got a single piece of gear this entire expansion. It's been 49 weeks.
There are so many systems like that where it's very clearly a thing that you engage in. It doesn't feel like authentic gameplay. You don't feel like an adventurer in a world where you go to a magical vault and it magically summons gear that you get for doing a Mythic Plus or 10 arena games. Like, dude, that's awful. And there are so many instances of things like that where you are very obviously playing a system instead of a game. So the worlds just don't feel cohesive. All of these games have become incredibly systemized to eliminate all friction. Everything is siloed. If you like PvP, it's the PvP silo. If you like PvE, it's the PvE silo. Just want to do quests, world quests, whatever. Everything is its own little thing, and you don't have to engage with anything you don't like, and the world feels incredibly disjointed. You do not feel like an adventurer in these worlds because you don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. A lot of these games are designed in a way to where the player is very much on rails. They want you to go a certain direction, do certain gameplay things, and everybody is having the same experience, which is great because that means that experience can be very consistent. You know, everybody can have an okay-ish time. If everybody's doing the same thing and getting the same results, it's just going to be okay for everyone. But there's no emergent player behavior. Everybody looks the same. Everybody gets to look cool. Everybody gets to do the thing and kill the bosses, and nothing different happens over here compared to over here. There's no personal player prestige. You don't look at some guy in town and go, holy shit, he's got full, you know, tier 3 and an epic mount. Like, you just don't, that doesn't happen anymore. Everybody's got everything, and it's, there's nothing interesting because it's all incredibly streamlined. And the other elephant in the room is that MMOs are just not community driven anymore. You play these games alone, isolated, in silence, because none of the game mechanics are designed to create friction amongst players, and you don't need other players for the baseline systems because the games are easy. Now, some of you may say, Mythic raiding has never been harder. That is a system for like 1% of players. The baseline systems are brain dead and easy, and you don't need anybody. Whereas the game in the past, you needed people to do things. You needed people for dungeons. When I played older MMOs, my friends list was full of tanks and healers, and I was making anybody that was like good, went out of my way to make friends with them. You needed other people, and being socially adept was, in a lot of ways, the pipeline to getting the things you wanted. If you were a well-liked person, guess what? You got on that arena team. You got in that raid. And you got those groups to run those dungeons so you could run those raids. Like, it mattered how you navigated the game socially, and the games were just more interesting because, again, you're in this cohesive world where you feel like you're a part of a world where things are happening and things are connected, and you're talking to people and you're trying to like climb the hierarchy ladder similar to real life. It's interesting, but nowadays you're just playing a system in isolation by yourself. The quote that sums up the MMORPG genre perfectly is that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Hear me out. Would you play a game that is only raiding? You just log into a preset character and you do a TOC style raid, no trash, just you and 20 of your friends, and you kill raid bosses. Would that be interesting to you? Probably not. In fact, I don't even play PvE only MMOs because I like to PvP. It matters to me that both are in the game. Same thing with PvP. Would you play a game that is only a PvP MMO where you just log in and do arenas? No. Like, I would not play that game if that's all the game was, because I would just play a MOBA or some other PvP game that does it better. Would you play a game where you just logged in and leveled up and did quests and that's all you did? No, because there are other games that have better stories and better worlds. So why play MMORPGs? Because you want the whole package. You want to be in a world where you're killing monsters and killing players. You want to be the adventurer that kills the dragon, gets a sword from that dragon, and uses that sword to kill another player. That is the genre. All of these things need to be connected. And as much as, I love competitive PvP, but as much as siloing off PvP and PvE and all of these things are not connected to each other, as much as, for competitive integrity, it's not good for the genre. MMOs it can't be competitive because all of this stuff needs to be cohesive and it needs to matter. You need to want to do PvP for PvE reasons and PvP or PvE for PvP reasons. They need to mix and mingle. That's the most healthy thing for the game. It's the most healthy thing for your immersion playing the game. And when everything, it just slowly, because that's what happens. It gets slowly siloed off where it's like, okay, we're going to normalize the gear. We're going to make sure that, the PvE, heaven forbid, the PvP gear is better in PvE in a few instances. Heaven forbid, can't have that. But you need that cross-pollination for these games to be good. Now, some of you may be saying, but I'm having a good time playing this MMO. Well, okay, let me ask you a question. Are you having more fun now than you did from the years 2004 to 2014? I would guess not. I would guess that the game you're playing is decent enough. It's scratching the itch enough, but it's probably not as good as whatever you played in the past. Now, some of you may be saying, that's just rose-tinted glasses. You're just saying that because you were young then and everything was new and fresh. No. The reason I say that is because other genres are better than ever. If you like first-person shooter games, dude, there are so many amazing FPS games out, and they're free. Dude, young people right now, if you like FPS games, it's awesome. You got Fortnite, Apex, Warzone, Overwatch 2. Like, there are so many to pick from, and most of them are free. That's awesome. Do you like single-player games? There are a ton of single-player games. Man, I remember when I was like, 10 or 11 years old playing like Banjo-Kazooie for the 100th time because you couldn't get another game because they were all expensive and you had to go to the store and whatever. It was a whole big thing. Nowadays, there are so many amazing single-player games. And with the way Steam is right now, you can get an amazing single-player game for like $2 because like after something's a year old, it's just basically free on Steam. And that's just how it is. So there are more amazing single-player games and amazing FPS games out now than ever. That's not even counting indie games. It's just the MMO genre that sucks. This genre in particular is awful. So can you blame Gen Z for not playing MMOs? They haven't experienced a good MMO in their lifetime. They really haven't. All of us boomers that play this genre are playing it largely because we got to experience the games when they were good and we're still sort of chasing the dragon. These games either, got their teeth into us and it's almost like a, you don't want to leave the game because you've been playing it for so long, so you just keep playing because you've been playing. Anyway, that's the end of my rant. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you are somehow under the age of 24, please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you having fun with an MMO right now? Have you tried an MMO and hate the genre? So let me know, because these numbers are wild. The fact that I went from nearly 90% of my audience being under 24 to 0% is crazy. So hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good one.